Okay, it says that we are live. I'll believe it when I see it. I think it is. I think we're live. I'm Tim Carter. You're watching Ask the Builder, and it is a chilly, rainy April 27th, 2022 here in central New Hampshire. Maybe nice where you are, but it's spring comes late to the Northeast Kingdom sometimes. This is one of those years. It's we're getting some of the bushes budding out, but the trees, they're they're not budding out yet. At least if they are, it's very small. Can't see it. You're not a teenager anymore. You don't have to remind me. Kathy reminds me all too often. She keeps telling me I'm not like I was when I was 18. Uh, okay. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the Craftsman S2000 26-inch rolling tool cabinet. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. And I'm going to really kind of more tell you a story about my past history with tool storage. And when you hear my story, you before I'm even finished, you'll probably have gone online and ordered one of these Craftsman tool chests uh, because you don't want to be like me. And this is, I actually, it's what's kind of interesting. I got a press release about this maybe 3 weeks ago, and from the woman who is in charge of the Sears public relations, and I'm sorry, Craftsman, the Craftsman brand, not Sears. So easy for me to say Sears. Sears is pretty much gone. They're done. But the Craftsman brand is still alive because Stanley Black and Decker bought it. And they were promoting this tool chest for Mother's Day, believe it or not. And at first blush, you might think, well, that's a stupid idea. No, 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 it's not a stupid idea. Not by a long shot. And the reason why is, I mean, there's a multitude of uses for something like this. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. It could even be used in a sewing room. All right, so um, it's just a great cabinet. And Jack's got one, so Jack can actually speak to it. If you've not checked in, that's one of the rules here on the Ask the Builder live stream. If you don't check in, then what happens is I have a bot that automatically charge your credit card $5. So it probably would be a good idea just to go ahead and check in, avoid that charge on your credit card statement. I'm teasing. Speaking of bots, the word on the street is there's a lot of them that are disappearing. Hey Frank, how you doing? It's great that you're here. What do you know? I'm sure you're just down the lake from me. Frank lives really close to me. Frank lives maybe as the bird flies. I would say Frank is no more than 6 miles away. And if we were on the radio together, like right now, if I got on 2 meters, Frank and I, we could probably talk. It would be really cool. I'll bet you we could talk with each other at 1 watt. 1 watt of power, easy. Isn't that cool? I mean, 1 watt. So I know this is an Ask the Builder show. It's not Ask the Radio guy, but the average, the old-fashioned night lights, the ones that have that tiny little bulb, that glow in the bathroom, those are generally about 4 watts. So imagine 1 watt of power, and we're talking to each other. It's amazing. Will's here. Hey, I know. What a miserable kind of cold, wet day. If you, I want to, before I go any farther and talk about the toolbox, if you have any questions at all about your home, go ahead and type them in the chat. We don't have to talk about toolboxes. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. We're going to talk about Mark, who I had a consult call with about 2 hours ago out in Salt Lake City about a septic system. We can talk about roofs. We can talk about laminate flooring. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help save you money, and I'm here to help save you time. We're also going to talk a little bit about inflation. some really disturbing news out there. And I don't mean to depress you. It's just that I when I talk about stuff like this, it's really to try to I try to build some moral fiber and to strengthen you and to get you ready. That's really what it is. It's like going to like boot camp. Okay, tool chest. It's Craftsman. This Craftsman tool chest. I have one very similar to it. The one I have, I've had for about 2 years. But let me tell you what happened before I had it. For many, many years early on in my career, I did what probably just about everybody else did. You had separate toolboxes, the old metal ones, and then they kind of shifted to plastic. And it was always a mess because the tools would get beat up and you wouldn't always put them back in the right box. So it was a mess, and you'd waste so much time looking for tools. Then, then what happened is as you start to accumulate more, it gets worse, and it just they get lost in a on the tool bench. They get buried. I have a friend of mine, another ham operator, who complains of this. He tells me that he's got tools. He knows he has the tools, but he doesn't know where they are. Many, many years ago, I'm going to say I got my first. What happened is this was probably. Well, I can tell you exactly when it was. It would have been 1984, maybe 83, maybe 82. Another fellow carpenter that I worked with, he was always very innovative. His name was Chuck Salee. Chuck Salee lives in northern Kentucky. I'm sure he's retired now. And Chuck was a real go-getter. He was kind of a model. He was a little younger than I was. Very smart, very hardworking. And he bought a used utility body truck. And if you don't know I know you know what a utility body is. If you've ever seen the trucks that the utility workers, that I think that's why they call it that. In other words, the electric linemen have, but they're bigger. In other words, there are these trucks that have a body that have these cabinets. They're all, they're on the sides of the truck, and they have doors, and the doors either swing like a casement window or they flip down, and they're waterproof. And what's really interesting is these bodies have shelves in them. In other words, you can organize the inside of these compartments to hold like any tools. You'll know where everything is. It was amazing. So to make a long story short, I bought one. Probably my first utility body I bought in probably, oh gosh, I don't know, late 80s. And I kind of made a mistake because of the type I got with a cover. And but I was convinced it was the way to go. And basically, I had a traveling hardware store. And then I bought my last truck that I bought while I was still in business. It looked like a plumber's truck. It was a utility body, but it had a big covered kind of a roof on it, and I couldn't fully stand up in it, but you could crouch over. And the advantage of that is it allowed me to transport materials and bigger tools. It could be pouring down rain, and nothing in the back of the truck would get wet like it would in a pickup truck. And up until that time, if you wanted that convenience, you would just buy a van. Well, vans are kind of problematic, or they were. The utility body solved all that. And the other advantage of the utility body that I had is it had 48 linear feet of shelves in it that you could put these acro bins in, these things. This is the exact size. So you've probably seen these bins before. So they're very handy, and they fit perfectly in the shelves. So I had a traveling hardware store. It was fantastic. I mean, nuts, bolts, screws, plumbing fittings, wire nuts, you name it. All right, fast forward. I get rid of that truck. And I instantly missed having my tools organized in those cabinets. And they just kind of went into bins. It was a mess. It was a nightmare. And finally, 2 years ago, I got one of these tool cabinets. like the one we're talking about today, but mine's a little bigger. And these are the cabinets that you see auto mechanics have. And what's really interesting about them is the drawers in most of these they come in different heights, and so that they can really conserve space, because the last thing you want to do is have a bunch of wasted air space above the tools that you're storing. So the drawers come in different heights. So if you have flat wrenches and screwdrivers and other type of tools, you can put them in a very narrow drawer. I mean, not narrow widthwise, but narrow height-wise, and conserve space. Um, they're just amazing, is all I can tell you. They keep the tools dry. The drawers in these are self-close once they get to a certain point. They can keep the tools clean. You know exactly where everything is, and as long as you put the tools back, which once you have an organized system like this, it becomes very easy to put the tools back. They don't get scattered and buried on a workbench. So if you have any questions about them, let me know, because I mean I love mine. I can't say enough good things about it. I probably am gonna get another one because I have some tools up on a pegboard, but I have some other tools that I think would really do better if they were in a cabinet just like this Craftsman one. So they make a great gift. They're affordable. This particular one that I'm talking about today, this Craftsman S2000, before I went live, I checked at Lowe's on their website. I believe it was $279. That's not a bad price. That's not a bad price. And it's just going to do nothing but go up. So if you're thinking about it, now's the time to get it. Inflation's going to take the price of that up over 300 in no time flat. All right. Oh, look who's here. Lorene's here. That's fantastic. If you have any questions like Wesley does, go ahead and type them in the chat. I'm going to answer Wesley's question right now. Just that's why I'm here. I'm happy to talk about the Craftsman tool chest. Jack can jump in as well. Hello, Marcus. Hello, Vanessa. But if you have any questions about anything, go ahead and ask it. I'm here. Wesley says, is it a code violation if my laundry room doesn't have a GFCI outlet behind the washing machines? I doubt it. So Wesley, here's the thing. I know you may find this hard to believe. I do not stay up with the code. And the reason why is the code changes every 3 years. Both the building code, the plumbing code, as well as the National Electrical Code. They get revised. And it's just, I don't want to say it's a waste of my time, but it kind of is to try to memorize it all. But it gets worse. Get this. The code, not so much the National Electrical Code, that's pretty much uniform across the United States. But the other codes, the local building inspectors, they can change them. They can ignore parts of the code. So in other words, what may be required in one town in Maine, like what may be required where Will lives, is not required up in Bar Harbor. All right. So it it doesn't pay to keep up. Now, what does the code say technically about GFCIs? Generally, the code will state, or what it has stated in the past, is that they're required in damp locations. I think it's fair to say that a laundry room would be considered a damp location because you might have an open laundry sink. So it might be required by a code official. But generally, the electrical outlet for a washing machine is down, kind of behind the machine, kind of hidden. And once you plug the washing machine into it, nothing else really gets plugged in and out of it. So I don't see it at a personal level as a safety hazard. Unless that outlet's way up high, you've got wet hands. I mean, if that outlet was up above the washing machine and you felt people were going to be plugging stuff in from time to time, I absolutely would have it as a GFCI, because there could be water in the washing machine. They could drape the cord into the washing machine by mistake. All kinds of bad things could happen. And here's the thing. If it's not a GFCI now, I mean, come on, you can change it over to one in 10 minutes. And what's a GFCI cost now? I don't know, 15, 20 bucks. So why not just do it and be safe? Marcus, the tool chests are great for mechanics. No doubt. You bet. One brilliant use is if you have a good one that is to drop an engine on it. And if you take it out of the car, I have a beta tool chest and they're super strong. That's interesting. I never even thought about that. That it would support the weight of an engine. That's kind of interesting. Lorene cannot reach the plug behind her washing machine. Exactly. But I have seen I've seen laundry rooms where the plug is above the machine. So, but anyway, Wesley, let's just put in a GFCI outlet and be done with it. Takes you 10 minutes. Pretty simple to do. Just follow the directions. Hello, good night. Welcome. All right. If you have any questions, type them in. Happy to help you. While I wait for your questions, I will tell you about the call I did with Mark about, 2 hours ago. It was actually a really interesting consult call. And I could also use your help potentially. I've been trying to find, and I can't find it yet, and it may not be out there, and it may be crap, but I was trying to find a free MP3 to text converter. A tool where I just upload an MP3 file and it transcribes the call into text. And I haven't found one yet. I found a couple of paid services, and a couple of them are really good. In fact, I just used one an hour ago called Rev, R-E-V. It was amazing how accurate it was. It was really, really good. And I love the format that it delivered it back in. But if you know of one that's free and it's pretty good, that would be awesome. All right. But if you know of one that is paid, which one do you think is the best value? So just if you could give me some feedback, I'd appreciate it. All right. So good. So Jack knows the code. It's not a violation unless it's within 6 feet of the sink. All right. Good. Hi, Louise. How you doing? The Craftsman tool cabinet. It's amazing. It's really an amazing. It's and it's affordable. I mean, I guess the thing is, when you look from the convenience standpoint and you look from how it would take care of your tools, it's really worth it, because I can tell you in the past, I've been guilty of it. Before I had my tool cabinet, in that in between time from when I sold my utility body to when I got my tool cabinet, there were a couple of days where I was pretty upset because I could not find a tool. I knew I had it. It was a big mess in the garage. I was angry at myself for it being a mess. And the reason it was a mess is because I did not have a way to organize the tools. These cabinets force you to do it. They're just amazing. That's all I can tell you. I mean, they're amazing. All right. So I would highly recommend them. Highly recommend them. I just and this particular one that I've got a picture of is the thumbnail. It's got an accessory tool cabinet that you can stack on top of it. That really takes it to the next level. It resembles my Cobalt one a lot. So let me tell you about Mark. So I have this consult call with Mark out in Salt Lake City. Mark wanted to talk to me about DIY, do-it-yourself septic tank installation and leach field. And I thought, well, that's respectable. The average person could probably do it if they just could read the plans. But here's what happened early on in the call. Within the first minute, I tell him, I said, Mark, describe to me what's going on, what you want to do, et cetera, et cetera. And within the first minute, Mark says, well, I bought this big piece of ground. It's out in Salt Lake City. I got it for a really great price, and 110 acres. So it's a big piece of ground. And I have access to an excavator and in the next 2 weeks. And I thought I would just go ahead and dig the hole and get the leach field ready. And I said, well, is the house done yet? Have you built the house? No, I've not built the house. I, I said, um, well, I said, have you got the permit for the septic? What? What? He's like, what do you mean permit? So anyway, I explained to him the whole process about how you you cannot just put these septic. Well, depending on where you live, like maybe if you live up in the wilds of Alaska, you can do whatever you want. All right. But but in the outskirts of Salt Lake City, my guess is they require you to have a permit. And so I explained to him the process and what has to happen, how you have to get the permit, blah blah blah. It has to be designed generally by a septic designer. The size of the septic tank is a function of the size of the house. Uh, all kinds of things. The whole it's much more convoluted than you might imagine. And then I tell him, I go, look, I say, as a builder and plumber, I can tell you this septic tank would be the last thing that I would put in first. All right. And I related a story to him about my own house. If you came to my house and you looked at my front walk and just kind of the shape of the house, you would go, why in the world would the architect have made this box canyon, as you walk up to the house? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Go look at my house on Google Earth. You'll see what I'm talking about, or Google Maps. Well, here's why. Here's why. I don't know if it was the dumbass homeowner who owned this thing before me. He was a loser. He was a lying, wretched loser. All right. I'm not going to tell you his name, but I don't know if it was him or the builder, but they put the well for the house in. They drilled the well before they put the foundation in. You know where the well is in my house? For my house? It's under my front porch. Oh my gosh. It's like, you idiots. So they had to build the house around the well. So I explained to Mark, I said, Mark, if you've ever been through the home building process, you know that all kinds of very heavy trucks come. For example, the average concrete truck weighs 70,000 pounds, 75,000 pounds. Lumber delivery trucks, whatever, all these big trucks. And these guys turn around, they don't give a flip where they drive. All right. I mean, seriously, they've got these big giant trucks. They can 6-wheel drive, whatever, man. And I said, the last thing you want is some idiot delivery guy or concrete truck to be driving on top of your septic tank, to be driving on top of your leach field, to be driving on top of your trenches of the pipes where the pipes are. I said, that's insanity. So I said, that's why we build the house first and get as much of the work done and all the grading done. And then we come and put the septic in. And I also explained to him the whole thing about elevation. I said, you can't just put the septic tank in and hope that the drain pipe from the house is going to get to it, going downhill. He was really thankful. It was a really good call. So that's what happens. That's what happens. So, good night. If you're listening to me still, there's a ton of them that say they're free or they offer a free trial. And that's what happened with the Rev one about 2 hours ago. I used it. It was really, really good, really amazing. But they're not free all the time. So I'm trying to find one that's free all the time, which I know it's probably not possible, and it's not realistic because that poor company's got to make money too. I get it. So I'm not opposed to paying. I just want to find one that does a really, really good job for the least amount of money if possible. All right. If you have any questions about your home, that's why I'm here. Go ahead and type them in the chat. Would love to answer your questions. That's why I'm here. It's really that simple. There's nothing more to it than that. What else did I want to share with you? So this is a really interesting story. This happened today. Have you ever, I know you have. I know you you've gotten your mail. I'm talking about the old-fashioned mail, it comes in envelopes. And you're walking back from the mailbox, or maybe it comes through a slot in your door, I don't know, and you're going through the mail, and you see some envelope that looks like it was written by hand, like it was printed, it's in a different ink, it's not just some typewritten letter that you think is spam and you just automatically throw in the garbage can. And by the way, don't do that anymore. Stop throwing mail away. You've got to open everything up. There's a really good chance that rebate checks or anything like that, if you're doing rebates on purpose, they put them in envelopes that people throw away. They do that on purpose because they don't want you to cash the check. All right. Anyway, so here as I'm walking back from the um, mailbox today, is this envelope addressed to me and Kathy. But it's her formal name, and that's what threw me off. And and I just thought, this is a piece of crappy spam. I swear to God. I'm not kidding. It looks spammy. Everything about it looks spammy. So I just leave it on the counter. I'm like, I'm not dealing with that dumb thing. And so Kathy opened it up about an hour and a half ago. Yeah, before she went to church. Or 2 hours ago, actually. And I'm telling you, don't throw mail away. Open everything. Here is this beautiful, wonderful letter written on. Here's Kathy now. Written on yellow paper like this, like the old-fashioned lined notepad, like the notepad paper. Beautifully printed letter saying from this guy and his wife that want to buy our house. They said, we don't want you to do any work to it. You don't have to pay a real estate commission. We're prepared to pay you in cash. We just want your house. Please sell it. Please sell us your house. I'm serious. I was like, are you kidding me? Now, I'll tell you this. So I'll tell you this quick story. This should impress you. And you could, this is useful information to you, just so you know. Way back when, way back, I became a licensed real estate agent in Ohio. I was only 22 and a half years old. And I subsequently went on and became a broker within a few years. And I was a broker for 25 years or so. I was really lucky. I don't know how I ran into this guy, but he was a small broker on the west side of Cincinnati, up in Cheviot. That was the actual its own little city. His name was Harry Caffeo. Harry Caffeo. Great Italian guy. Great, so honest. He was a great man. And early on, one of the things he taught me is he said, 1 in 10 people at any given time want to sell their home, because he was trying to train me how to go out and get listings. Because if you want to make money in real estate, if you really want to make a lot of money in real estate, you get listings. Listings are the way, because you make money whether you sell it or not. All right. And so he was just trying to say 1 in 10 people. So I thought, yeah, right, whatever. So the day I got my license, it was this horrible cold day in February, and near where I lived, he had a listing because he was a VA broker. So any of the houses that came back from the Veterans Administration that were repossessed, he got a listing and he would try to sell them. So he said, here, go down to the street. I'll never forget. It's called Tanner Avenue in Pleasant Ridge and Norwood. He said, go knock door to door and ask people if they know anybody who wants to buy this house. Okay, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. I'm going down, knocking on doors. It's cold. It's a gray day, just like today. And maybe the 7th house I did, this woman pulls back the curtain and she opens the door and she goes, could I help you? And I go, blah, 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 blah. And she says, well, I don't know anybody that I don't know anybody that wants to buy that house, but I want to sell my house. She said, "Why don't you come in and let's talk about it?" And I was like, "This can't be true." And you have to also understand, I had just gotten my license a few hours before. I had no idea what to do. I had no idea how to fill out a listing contract and had never seen one. And she starts telling me, and she here's what she said. She said, "If you have enough courage on a day like today and come out and knock on people's doors about real estate, you're the exact person I want." And I said, I was really honest with her. I said, "I don't know anything about it." She said, "Well, you're going to learn." And I said, "Could I use your phone?" She said, "Of course." "Harry, you're not going to believe it. Blah, 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 blah." Harry said, "I'll be there in a half an hour." So half an hour later, he shows up. We sign the lady up and I sell the house. So anyway, the whole point of the story is it's true. Even on your own street, 1 in 10, they want to sell their house. All right. So I'm going to respond back to this guy. Talk to Kathy first. Actually, I would love to sell the house right now. But the thing is, and this guy sounds like he's so desperate that he might agree to the deal that I'll propose. I want to sell the house, but I don't want to move out right away. I'll rent it back, you know, but he needs to give us time to go find something else. So we'll see what happens. All right. All right. So Lorraine says our neighbors next door have their septic field on a ridge above their house. It's the stupidest idea in the world. That's how mine is. I didn't put mine in. My leach field is in elevation at least 20 feet above my septic tank, maybe 25 feet. The effluent's got to be pumped up to the leach field. It's the dumbest thing in the world. Do not ever do that. You never, ever want any pumps at all involved in your sewage disposal. Never. No pumps. Everything's got to be gravity. Stupid, 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 stupid. So that means don't ever buy a lot. I mean, it's actually in my checklist. I sell a checklist that people need or should use. Like if you're thinking about buying a lot, most people would never know that. They would go, "Oh, this looks like a great lot. It looks great." And then they come to find out after they bought it, "Oh, we got bad news for you. You're going to have to pump your sewage up, man. Sorry." Like, what? You do not want a pump ever. All right. So I'm moving to Maine now. No, not moving to Maine. Nope, not coming to Maine. That's a whole story for another day. Not coming there. Nope. I am not moving to Bar Harbor. Not doing it. That's how we sold our house, Dad's house. A former resident wanted this house, so it was an easy sell for us. Good for you, Frank. Had a landscaper with Bobcat do major work around the Mark septic tank. He removed marker. Bobcat fell into the tank. Oh, God. Oh, my God. That's horrible. Oh, gosh. All right. So, all right. If you have any questions about your home or how to get a Bobcat out of a septic tank, this is the place. This is the place. So type your question into the chat. I'll do my best to answer it. Oh my gosh. So interesting letter that we got. Really interesting letter. Oh, okay. An update on my daughter. My daughter got the job. That's all I'll tell you. That's all I can tell you. My daughter got the job. It's surreal. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. All right. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Lorraine, there are some really great videos. One day I had some time to kill. I don't know how I stumbled on it on YouTube. I forget even what I typed in, but I guess you could type into YouTube buried construction equipment, like something like that, buried or stuck in the mud, whatever. There are some. I watched this one video. This guy rented a big excavator, one of these things. This is called an excavator, just so you know. All right. So I like these kind of toy trucks, believe it or not. So this is an excavator. So he rented a big one, like a 330, like a Caterpillar 330, which is a pretty big one, and took it to this place. And I'm telling you, it was buried in mud. The whole thing was buried in mud up to about here. All right, this level. So all of the treads, everything completely in the mud. And the rental company or the insurance company hired another excavator to go dig it out. And the video is showing how he did it and the exact method he used to do it. It was fascinating. But all kinds of videos on there. Like, for example, go look at farm tractors, like stuck farm tractors. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Crazy. But anyway, it's actually, Lorraine, depending on where the septic is, that would be a really easy extraction. I mean, you just have to bring a crane in, but a crane could easily lift that thing out. Not a problem. It's not. It's like child's play. It's just a matter of getting the right crane. Easy. All right. If you have any questions about your home, type them in. Got to have questions. We have to have questions to keep the live stream going. If we don't have questions, no. Well, I doubt it. I opened up the Bombay doors with the HOA yesterday. We'll see what happens. I sent an email to the president and the past president. All right. Lorraine says we have a steep ridge behind our houses. So if the earth moved enough, their septic would be in their house. True. My guess is, I know where you live. The earth's not going to move. You might be in an area with some really greasy glacial clay. I sort of doubt it. You should be okay. It's just that, I don't really fault people because I'll give you an example. All right. I'll give you a great example. So Lorraine, you'll appreciate this. I don't think you were here last week. So on Friday of last week, I baked a cake for Kathy's birthday, which was last weekend. And I had never before baked a cake from scratch. She had always dissuaded me. Like, no. Do not bake a cake from scratch. Don't do it. I'm not eating it. All right. She thought I was going to poison her. So for years it worked. I didn't do it. Well, we're true empty nesters now. And I knew if I didn't bake the flipping cake, there wasn't going to be a cake for the birthday. All right. Because if I was to go out and buy one or get a Betty Crocker box cake, she would throw it away. She would just say, I'm not eating that crap. And I start to make this cake and I had scanned the recipe, the instructions, but I didn't really study them. And not to say I didn't I didn't want to be blasé and say, oh, this couldn't be that hard. Because I know it can be hard. I know there's some things that are really hard to do. I'm halfway through blending the ingredients. It's like a multi-step process. And I mean, it's early in the morning, and all of a sudden the instructions say, okay, this next step, you got to fold this in. And I go, fold? What the hell are you talking about? I panicked. It's like, oh my God, I don't know what folding means. I mean, it made sense once I found out. All right. Like if you were to fold a towel or fold a sheet or fold a t-shirt, whatever. And I panicked and I texted a really good friend of mine who's a really good baker. But by that time I'd already panicked and I stirred it real lightly. I'm sure I knew enough that you didn't want to stir vigorously because you might whip too much air into the cake. Okay. And that's bad. It turned out okay. I eventually found out what folding was. But the point I'm trying to make is I did not know anything about folding. I don't expect the regular person, a regular person who does not know anything about construction to really think it through about how the sewage works, how it gets out of the house, where it would go to a septic tank, where the septic tank should be, where should the leach field be, all that stuff. That's just, so I get it. I understand why people might buy lots like yours. They go, well, so what? There's a little hill behind the house. Well, maybe you're not allowed to put septic tanks in the front yard. so so it just pays to have a checklist. That's all. All right. Frank says, was a crane, then front lawn had to have more work done. Of course, the crane's going to mess up the yard. Will says, if I bake, I'd need a smoke detector that shuts off when I yell, I'm just cooking. Easy. Look who's here, Jason. Hey, nothing about this is hard. The flipping lurker's here. Oh my gosh. All right. So what questions can I answer of yours? You have to have questions. We have a lot of people here, and we have 8 thumbs up, and I'm not getting a lot of home improvement questions. That's bad. I need it's just like airplanes need fuel to fly. My live streams need questions to keep going. You have to ask questions. All right. You have to ask questions. You have to ask questions about your house. I don't care what it's about. I don't care. I don't care. It could be anything. It could be electric, just like Wesley before. He asked a really good question about GFCIs. In the meantime, I told you about the envelope. I told you about the letter, and I told you about Mark, the septic tank guy. The other thing that I wanted to share was I got a kind of a disturbing comment on the website 2 days ago from a newsletter subscriber. I'm not going to tell you her name. And she was upset that I was charging money for my deck stain test results. And she wasn't nasty at all, but she wrote this somewhat long, like, hey, and back in the old days, you used to be this way, and now your whole newsletter, all it is just filled with ads, buying stuff, blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, like, no, that's not what it is. There's all kinds of great stories and links to columns, blah blah blah, and links to videos, like, so it's not just buy. So I deleted her comment from the website, and because it doesn't need to be there. But I emailed her, and I kind of took her to the woodshed a little bit, and I shared some information with her that would never be made public. And I was pretty firm, and I opened up the emails, like, what happens when you assume something. And she had made a big assumption, and she was wrong. So I scolded her because I said, 99.98% of everything I've ever created is free. It's free on the website. I've got 800 plus videos. It's all free. And there's just a very tiny amount of stuff I've created that I charge for. And I said, are you telling me that everything should be free? Is that really what you want? Just tell me. Just say, just be honest. And so I didn't think she would respond, but she did. And she apologized, and she could have been crying when she typed it, because she said she was horribly shamed, and she didn't think it through. And it was a very touching email. I just thought, what do you know? There's hope. There's hope. So very interesting. And I've gotten a lot of those. It's I've talked about that here before. I've talked about how the internet has really fostered this whole mentality. Even I was guilty of it. Look, just a half an hour ago, I'm talking about how I would love to have a free MP3 to text converter. I would love it. Yeah, of course I would. Who wouldn't? But if I have to pay, I have to pay. And I don't mind paying. But if there's a free one, I'll try it. All right. Because I give stuff away for free. All right. So enough of that. All right. Frank says deck joists rotted under Trex, which is now warped. Trex for saving. Might be. Yeah. Frank, absolutely. With the price of materials, absolutely. You want to save the Trex. And the reason that the Trex might have warped, and I'm assuming it's got a downward warp in it, not a crown in the narrow width, is because the spacing of the floor joist might not have met spec. I'll give you an example. So traditional Trex has said that the joists have to be 16 inches on center. All right, so that's the spec if the Trex crosses the joist at a 90-degree angle. But sometimes people like to put decking at a 45 and run the decking diagonally across the joists. Well, guess what? If you do that, it's no longer 16 on center span from the contact points on the Trex because you're along the diagonal. So if your decking was put on diagonally, that's why that happened. You need to have the joist 12 inches on center. And if you want to prevent the joist rot, I have a video on my website about a newer product. It's been out. It's probably been out about 7 or 8 years now, but it was not out 10, 20 years ago. No one even thought about it. It's called a joist tape. So it's a rubberized butyl tape that you put a strip of this tape on top of the joist before you put the decking down. And that way, when the screw goes through the decking or the nail, the shaft of the nail is sealed and water cannot get into the top of the joist. And that's become a huge issue, a huge issue with, and that's probably why those joists rotted, is because the nail or the screw caused a tiny crack in the wood when they put the nail or the screw in, and water gets in and it just starts the whole problem. So it just, I've got columns on the website just railing on the treated lumber industry, just taking them to the woodshed about how if you think that treated lumber is not going to rot, you've got another thing coming. So take it all apart, save the Trex, and when you put the joist back on, and my recommendation would be always buy direct burial or ground contact treated lumber because it has more preservative in it. So even though you might not have ground contact, if you buy that treated lumber, it should last 50, 60, 70 years. But for sure, put the joist tape on. Simple as that. But absolutely save the Trex. I replaced all the Trex decking on my deck 5 years ago. I had Generation 1 Trex. You're not going to believe this. I sold every piece of it. I put it on Facebook. I had people coming out of the woodwork buying my old Trex. I cleaned it up. I pressure washed it. It looked beautiful. I stacked it all. I told them all the sizes I had. The reason why is, get this. So there's a lot of people out there who have Generation 1 Trex where they don't make it anymore. So they want to expand their deck and they can't find material to match. So there's a market for it. So if you've decided, we're going to get rid of the Trex, don't throw it away. Sell it. You can sell it. You can sell it, make a lot of money. Because wait till you see what a new piece of Trex costs. When I checked a year or two ago, I'm looking at some scrap pieces out my window right now of mine. I bought the Trex Transcend, so it's 5.5 inches wide. So a piece of this Trex Transcend, only 5.5 inches wide, 16 feet long, like 2-3 years ago, was $65. Whew, that's crazy. With oil, what it's at now, and that could be $90 now. And one board, $90. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about inflation. Unless you've got a question for me. If you don't, I'm here. I keep saying it. I know Lorraine and Will and Goodnight and Jack and others and Marcus, they all get bored of me, like they're rolling their eyeballs. Okay, we know. But you might be a new person here who doesn't know this. I only come and do these things for one reason, to answer your questions. I do not come here to talk about letters from people who want to buy my house. I do not come here to talk about cakes. I do not come here to talk about any of that stuff. I only do that to fill time. So you've got to ask questions. Lorene says, we built a beautiful Trex deck and then sold the house. Now it costs double. Bingo. Exactly. Triple. Right. Hi, 8-Bit Vinyl. Thomas, how does Trex fit together? Easily. So you know what? This would be so much easier if I had a flipping whiteboard. But you know what? I don't want to pollute the atmosphere and the whole earth. So I just use paper that we can burn and add smoke. I'm going to show you. I'm going to draw something. I'm going to draw you a typical piece of Trex the way it looks right now. All right, hold on here. I got to use a different color, so it makes sense. I know. Don't even waste it. Lorene and Will, I can already feel them doing it. They're typing. Where's the whiteboard? Where's the whiteboard? Just a second. All right. Here we go. Here we go, Thomas. So these are pieces of standard Trex right now. So they have a very regular Trex has a profile, a groove. All right. So you may have heard of tongue and groove lumber. Well, the Trex all has grooves. I mean, there's no tongues. And they what happens, you can buy these spacers that automatically fit in between. They're made to fit. And then what happens, it controls and makes sure that this gap between the two pieces here is consistent between board to board and all the way across the deck. And these are stainless steel screws, and you know they have a Torx head, and they're beautiful. I mean, it works. It's a beautiful system, a beautiful system. And what's cool about it is it allows you to take the Trex out if you had to. Like if you had to replace a board, if you just go and undo all these screws, like if you undo all the screws, you can tilt the board out. You can get it out. You can get it board out, and you can put another piece back in. But that's how you fit Trex together. Now they do make trim pieces. They make Trex that is solid. It does not have the groove. It just has it looks like a regular piece of lumber. It's squared off here, and you just face screw those down. You face screw those. So that's how it works. Whiteboard, blah, 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 blah. All right. Last year, I replaced my mom's porch. It was concrete. I built on top with treated lumber, 4x9 with 3/4 for the deck, and forced should have cost half that. Yeah, materials are very, very expensive, and they're going to get worse. Materials are going to get a lot worse. All right, you're welcome, Thomas. So Thomas, if I helped you, we did this last week. If I helped you, and you think that it would be fair to buy me an ice cream cone, I'm not going to talk you out of it. All right. I'm not diabetic, and but if I helped you, maybe you can return the favor, buy an ice cream cone. Simple as that. Maybe you can buy me 2 ice cream cones. Just go there and do it. You'll see. It'll all make sense when you click the link. I'm going to talk a little bit about inflation right now, and I'm going to talk about the R word, and it's going to be a little sobering. And after this, you might not be in a good mood. All right. I'm sorry, but I'm not doing it to depress you. I'm doing it to wake you up. All right. All you have to do is look around you. The inflation is much, much worse. The inflation that we're experiencing now is much worse than what's being reported. You know, I don't care what news thing you belong to, who you get your news from, whatever. The number that the leaders are reporting is not true. It's not right. It's a cooked number because they're not factoring in all of the things that they should be factoring in. All right, that's a fact. It's going to get worse. And the reason it's going to get worse is because it does not appear that our leaders, and I'm talking about everybody, a majority of everybody that's in Washington seems to have no appetite for pulling back on the spending. And, in other words, they're passing these huge bills. I'm not trying to talk politics. This is economics. It's not politics. Don't get confused here. I'm not beating up on what's his name. I can't remember his name. He can't remember stuff either. All right. So, both parties are guilty of voting for these horrible bills, and they're spending trillions of dollars, and they're putting more money into circulation, and that money dilutes the amount of money that you and I have. All right, that's this simple. That's all it is. It dilutes. In other words, why do you think sand is so cheap? You ever thought about it? Like, how much would you pay for a bucket of sand? I don't know, a penny, a nickel? Because you would go, sand. It's like, are you kidding me? I can go down to the lake and get some. It's cheap. It's like sand is nothing. All right. So the reason sand is cheap is because there's so much of it. All right. So as soon as countries start printing too much money and putting too much money in circulation, for example, when they pass a $1 trillion deal, well, people think, well, that's going to come out of taxes. No. They just print that money. It just prints. It's just like having a printing press in your basement. So the people that sell things, because the money is being devalued, they charge more money. They go, well, the reason I'm charging you more money is because this dollar it's not what it used to be worth yesterday. It's that simple. That's all that's going on. All right. So the question I have for you is, do you think that the people who are doing this, who are guilty of doing this, do you think they're going to stop? Yes or no? No. The answer is no. They're not going to stop. They're going to continue to do it for a host of reasons. And here's what really happens. So now you look at your own personal life. Look how much. I'll tell you what happened to me today, just today. Today, I had called last week. So you need to understand this. Last June 30th, I negotiated a contract for my propane supplier to where I was guaranteed to be able to buy 2,500 gallons of propane for this past year for $1.99 a gallon. Pretty good price. Well, they came for my last winter delivery about 3 weeks ago, and I still had about 159 gallons left on my contract. And I told the driver, hey, if you're in the neighborhood because I had to use it up by April 30th, so I only have 3 more days. I said, if you're in the neighborhood, come just top me off. He said, okay. Well, I had to call. It doesn't matter. I'm not mad at the guy. He's a good guy. They come and fill me up. Remember, I had 159 gallons left. My tank would only take 190, and that's okay. I told the people, if you, I get it. I understand. What do you think I paid per gallon for that extra 39 gallons? Because they put up 190 gallons in. $4.34. $4.34. So that's over 100% inflation. Gasoline, 100% inflation over the past 2 years. What food? Some certain foods, 30, 40%. All right. Here's what it means for the average person. The average person only has so much money they can spend each week. So when you start spending more money on food and heating oil or whatever, real basic necessities that you need to live, and then you exhaust your money, like, okay, I don't have any more. Well, then that means you're not going to buy, I don't know, you're not going to go out and buy one of these things, all right? You're not going to go out and buy a fancy voice recorder, or you're not going to buy a nice, cool, something as cool as like a really nice pen. I could list the list. It's a mile long of this. So when you think about that from just that thin slice of you go, oh, wow, it can't possibly hurt things if I don't buy that voice recorder. It can't possibly hurt anything. Well, what happens if 300 million people stop buying those things. Well, think about it. If you're a business, like if I'm running a business, if people stop buying stain solver, uh, I'm going to lay people off. I'm going to lay off an employee or two. If people stop coming to ask the builder, I'm going to stop paying my server fees. Like, why should I continue to pay a server fee if no one's coming to my website? I'm going to shut the business down. All right. So that's what a recession is. In other words, a recession happens is when the economy contracts because people aren't spending money. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not an economist. If Steve was here, he would tell you it's because of all this silver hair up here. I've been here. I've been to this rodeo before. I'm telling you, we are going to have this god awful recession that's going to it's happening now in a way. It's starting to happen in the early stages of it, but it'll really come roaring to life by the end of the summer, maybe the fall. And it's going to be a bad one. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be horrible. So you need to be ready. So you need, what does that mean to you? It means don't be overextending yourself. It means think about the things that you have that you maybe could sell if you had to be able to stay alive. That job you were thinking about quitting, don't quit it. You're not working now, but you need but you think, well, maybe I could go to work. You might want to get the job before, because then there's not going to be jobs to get. All right. I'm just saying, start thinking ahead. All right. Let me get caught up here. John, that's probably not a good idea to put stuff like that in writing. All right. Seriously, not a good idea. Hi, Jimmy. How you doing? Hello, Eddie. Lorraine, that's terrifying. We pre-bought our propane at 172 a gallon. I'm a bit concerned. I'm really concerned at what it's going to be next year. I mean, I'm to the point where I'm going to talk to Kat. Well, we're going to see what's going to happen with this offer on the house. There's going to be a lot of big talking going on here at the Carter house over the next day or two. Let me tell you. I'm really lucky. I'm super lucky, because even here, so I'm really, really lucky where I live. I'm looking at right now. I own about 3 or 4 acres here on the lake, and I own enough trees right here. And the HOA, they can bite me. It says in the bylaws you're not allowed to cut certain trees down. They can bite me. All right, screw them. But I have enough wood on my land right here that I could heat this house for 20 years. All right. And I own 90 acres that unlimited wood. All right. So if we stay here, I'm seriously thinking about putting in a wood stove. All right. Try to convince Kathy we got to put a wood stove in. I was talking to a friend the other day who, my ham radio buddy, Dave. I had to go visit him to help. I had to go build something at his house maybe 2 weeks ago. And I hadn't been there in a while. And he's got this one simple wood stove. It's kind of a smaller, compact house, but this one wood stove, and it's against an outside wall. It heats the entire house. He said there's no hot and cold spots. It's amazing. So, we could save thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, because what would happen is, so think about it. This past year, I spent $5,000 on propane. Next year, I would spend $10,000. That's unacceptable. Unacceptable. All right. Lorraine says, Lorraine says, let's see, I got to get caught up. I have a stain solver question. How much stain solver do you put in a 1 gallon? That's a great question. So anytime you have a stain solver question about mixing and I'm not available, always go to the website, because it's right there. Go to stainsolver.com. Right at the top is FAQ for frequently asked questions. As soon as you click that, one of the first few choices is how do I mix stain solver? And we always recommend a cup. So a cup of stain solver per gallon of water. But to save money, if I were you, I would do just a half a cup. Just try a half a cup. You might get some really great results. So a half a cup of stain solver to a gallon of hot water. You have to mix it really well, stir it for 2 minutes, mix, mix, mix. It's got to completely dissolve. If you do not completely dissolve it, some of that small particles of stain solver will get into the nozzle of the sprayer, clog it up, and you will be so angry. You'll be so angry. Oh my gosh. It's so frustrating. So use the hottest water you can get, and the hotter the water, the faster it dissolves. So just try a half a cup and see if that doesn't work for you. All right. I'll be selling my dog. Yeah, well, it could be. All right. Not the dog. As far as real estate, it's going to be 2008. Exactly. That's why I want to sell. Here's what I'm thinking, just so you know, in my head. If I can convince Kathy of this, I could sell this house to this guy right now at a high price and then close, have the cash. And then in the agreement, I get to rent it for up to a year, because he probably just wants it for the whatever. He doesn't care that he wouldn't be in it this summer potentially. But that would give us enough time to go find another place. Well, if the market then crashes in the meantime, hallelujah. That's what I would want to do. In other words, if I could close and 2 days later the market crashes, that means we can go buy a place much, much cheaper than we were going to have to buy. So, that's what I'm going to try to convince her. We'll see. Wow. Have to have 1.5 years to get from the Amish. Wow, that's crazy. We need to stick together alive. We need you. I know. Well, I'm at 1% outside. I don't know what that means. I will take before and after pics for you. I must be missing something in all of this. I have a local tree versus that drop their logs off here. It doesn't cost them to dump fee. And oh, good for you. That's a smart idea. That's a great idea, John. That's a really great idea. Wow. Good for you. Good for you. That's a really good idea. Yeah, and not only that, that's a super great idea. What I've seen here happen, and it's crazy. They've got those big chippers, and I have seen here in my own development where they put some enormous flipping logs in those chippers. And I'm thinking the wear and tear on those blades and on the machine must be enormous. And if you contact them and said, no, don't chip it up, man. Just cut the flipping tree down, cut it into 10-foot lengths or whatever. Just bring them here, drop them in my driveway. I'll take care of it. A lot of tree services would be all over that. It's got to save them money. Got to save them big money. Oh, before and after pics on the siding. Okay, got it. Yeah, I would love to get it. Make sure you get really good befores. Make sure they're not blasted out by the sun. You know that. In other words, a lot of people think the best time to take photos is in direct sunlight. Sometimes that's the worst time to take a photo. Everything's washed out. There could be horrible shadows, blah, 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 blah. So, all right, great. All right. So, any other questions about your home? Do you have any questions? This is a good time to ask them. Or if you have a tip like John's, that's a great tip. I didn't even think about that. I never even thought about them dropping off the trees. That's a great idea. Oh my gosh. Such a great idea. Holy tomato. I like everything about that idea. If you have, I wrote, I'll tell you about this. I'm going to publish the column on my website tomorrow. I wrote a brand new column yesterday. I hadn't visited this topic in a long time about replacement windows. And it's a true story. I mean, it's a buddy of mine up in Palatine, Illinois, which is a suburb west of Chicago. There aren't any suburbs east of Chicago. If they are, they're all underwater. All right, Lorena understands that joke. All right. So anyway, The I've been to his house years ago. My son and I were, and he's just got a little simple brick bungalow. Nothing. There's tons of houses like his in Cincinnati. He's got 10 windows, and he got bids from $10,100 to $30,000. So he needed my help to navigate these waters. So I helped him, and to make a long story short, I decided, oh, you know what? I need to write a column to help everybody else. So I wrote the column. I got all kinds of great numbers in it, and all I can tell you is the window replacement companies are going to hate me. Oh, I'm going to get some horrible hate mail from them. That's okay. But hopefully I'm going to save you thousands of dollars. So I'll have that column on the website in the morning. You definitely read it, and I'll refer to it on Saturday, because I'll be doing a live stream on Saturday morning. Palatine, yeah. What a place. Chicago. Out of control right now. Flipping out of control. I used to love Chicago, my favorite big city. I used to go up there a lot 15 years ago. I loved walking up and down Michigan Avenue. The architecture is magnificent. The buildings are magnificent. I would no more go to Chicago and walk around right now than go swimming in the lake here today. Not happening. Not going there. It is so unsafe. Oh my gosh. There's no way. No flipping way. I'm fascinated with Finnish style windows. They are not practically here and would cost a fortune, but very insulating. I don't know what those are. I've probably seen them, but I don't know them by that name. Finnish style windows. I'll look it up after the live stream's over. If you have any questions, now's the time to ask. Des Plaines. All right. So I know it's a western suburb. Chicago, wonderful place, wonderful town. I'm sure, just like most big cities, the politics are corrupt as can be. What place isn't corrupt? Did you see in the news today? I mean, this shouldn't shock anybody. All right. It's everything. What's kind of interesting is everything's starting to come out. And if you've heard a sound outside your house the last couple of days and you can't quite figure out what it is, it's the wailing and gnashing of teeth. So many people are upset about Elon buying Twitter. Oh my gosh. So it comes out in the news today. Should this surprise anybody? That Gmail, shame on them. Shame on them. So, I mean, it's so easy for them to manipulate mail. So fundraising emails that the Republicans sent out, Gmail would put to spam. But fundraising letters for Democratic candidates, they made sure it got in your inbox. Like, are you kidding me? Bad form. Shame on you. Shame on you. I mean, but it shouldn't surprise anybody. The corruption is just everywhere. It's everywhere. I know you could care less about Elon by Twitter, and I don't go onto Twitter, but if he did it for the reasons that he said he did, history might show Elon as saving America. It sounds crazy, because big tech has got a stranglehold on the information, like right here, right this live stream. So much so that I'm afraid of saying this word. I don't want to say it. All right. You haven't heard me say this word, right? I call it the illness. Why? Because I know that they're waiting for me to say stuff, and then they'll ban me. That's horrible. Come on. All right. So that's what happened on Twitter. It was horrible. All right. So, you have to understand, I have my own website, just like Twitter is a private business. I get that. But but they took it to the next level and they became the town square. And, people like if you want to be a constitutional lawyer and say, well, free speech does not extend into businesses, you're pretty much right. You are right. You are right. Which is why, like on my own website, people come there and they type these horrible comments and they don't add to the discussion. I just trash can them. I have all my comments set on my videos and on my website. I have them set to moderation. They don't appear unless I decide they appear. So I censor it. So I get it. But when it comes to political discussion and where elections are decided on that flow of information, that's a different story, But when somebody comes to my website and calls me a hack or says the way I'm doing something is wrong, I'm not going to get into an argument with them. I'm not going to, because they're just asshats. So it's like, you're done. I'm just deleting your comment. All right. Anyway, enough of that. All right. So, Will, you should print out those verboten words and hold them up to the camera. You know what, Will? That's a good idea, but I'll bet you that it's simple to have artificial intelligence to see that. That's not hard to do. That's easy. I don't need to talk about it anyway. Because you know what? Here's the truth. Do you think anything I've said over the past 5-6 months about those two issues, think it's changed anybody's mind? No way. No way. I've got a friend of mine, a really, 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 really dear, close friend of mine. And this woman, she thinks I'm crazy. I'm telling you, she thinks I'm crazy. Because she has drank the Kool-Aid by the flipping gallon. And she's been a prisoner in her own home for 2 years. And she's about ready to go nuts. She's severely depressed. And I say, well, before the shamdemic, you used to go out and you were surrounded by people that had the flu. Why didn't you stay in your home then? Well, she won't answer me because I'm not a doctor. So my opinion doesn't count. So the whole point is people, they've been so brainwashed. It's horrible. It's just horrible. Whiteboard. We're not getting a whiteboard. If I could reach down and show you how much of this flipping paper I've got, I am not going to go out and buy a whiteboard when I have all this wonderful paper. Now, here's the other thing. So no one's asked for it. He may ask me. I'd send it to him. If you were here on Saturday, I had a brand new viewer, Jennifer, and she lives out in eastern Washington State. And she asked a question. I answered. I drew a picture, and it was a pretty good picture. And to make a long story short, I asked her if she wanted me to autograph it, and I'd mail it to her. She said yes. So at the end of the live stream, I autograph it and put it in an envelope. I had told her, you need to go to my website, go to the STIM page. You got to send me your address so I can. So today, she probably got it today. So anyway, so you can't do that with a whiteboard. In other words, I'm offering to people, if you want my autographed drawing, I'll mail it to you. See, Jason should be all over this. Jason should be asking me to do like 5 drawings a day because he thinks my autograph's worth money. Anyway, I do think we need free internet. I don't know how people would do that. I don't know how they're going to do the free internet thing. Yeah. Well, good luck with the. Lorene says, if not free, then on a fair cost base. Good luck with that. Not going to happen. Supply and demand. When something is that in demand, are you kidding me? But it also, that's what Elon is doing. Just so you know, my son-in-law up in Bar Harbor uses Elon's system, that Starlink. So I think that the satellite stuff, and look who's getting into that same business. Amazon's getting into it. So Lorene, we may get cheaper internet. That it could be coming. All right, so hang in there. Jason says, I'm waiting for a few years for that autograph to season. It's flipping worthless. It's worthless. Well, it's worth something to you, but in the open market, it's worthless. All right. Cat caught a mouse. Bad news. Cat is an inside cat. Oh, easy. 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 Will, I've got it on my website. Go to askthebuilder.com and type into the search engine mousetrap. Look at this great mousetrap. They work so well. And the key with mousetraps, where you put them, it's a humane mousetrap. Mice do not like to go across an open room. They like to stay next to walls. They like to stay next to walls, or they like to stay next to boxes. They don't like to be out in the open. So you have to put the trap in the right spot to where they go to catch them. But it really works well. Trap is really well, boy. All right. Missing says, I worked with many projects being mesh networks. I said, yes, I agree. That's what Ring was doing. And I unsubscribed from that. So Ring, here's the trouble. So Ring, I've got a Ring spotlight cam and doorbell. Well, it's hooked to the Wi-Fi. So Ring, they were kind of sneaky about it. They were trying to create a huge mesh network where people out on the lake who are going by in their boat could use my internet for free. Nope. No. I'm paying for the internet. Ring's not paying me anything. So bad form, Ring. So I know all about mesh networks because that's all radio stuff. It's all radio. But it is possible. But I'm not letting people use my internet. I mean, you can use my internet, but you're going to have to buy me an ice cream cone. Simple as that. What's so hard about that? No worries. All right. Any other questions? Some good discussion points today. Really good stuff. Yes, city-built mesh systems. I get it. Absolutely good stuff. But I think that internet access, based on what I see Elon doing and what I see Jeff Bezos doing, it's going to be when you think about it, think about this. So the cable systems, this is really interesting when you think about it. Think about just how disruptive. There's disruptions that happen along the pathway. So, give you a great example. So that, what was the name of the company? What was the big name of the huge national company that made the, I think it's R.H. Donnelly. R.H. Donnelly made the white pages and the yellow pages for businesses. Remember, if you're old enough. So Jason, you might not know anything about this, or Good Night, if Good Night's still here. You say to some people, the yellow pages, like, what? What the hell are you talking about? So the yellow pages were the search engine before Google and before Alta Vista, as were the classified ads in the newspaper. Those were the two search engines. But they're gone. They're gone. All right. Gone. And so the cable TV industry has, they've had a stranglehold on people for the last 30, 40, 50 years, really. I remember when Time Warner, well, it was called Warner Amex, I think at the time, came into Cincinnati, Ohio back in the 70s. So they've had a good run, all right? But if you look at Elon and you look at Jeff Bezos and you just look at how technology's changed, you're going, you know what? We can do the same thing cable's doing, but we can do it with satellites, and we don't need all those hard wires, we don't need all those stupid wires. Now, how is it going to work in snowstorms and all that? Well, that's always been a problem, heavy rainfall, blah, blah, blah. All right. I'm just saying that be prepared. Disruption is coming for internet access. It's happening. It should happen in our lifetime. Mocha chip. Will got it right. Mocha chip. It's the only ice cream to eat. Yeah. Yellow Pages. And you know what was the biggest section in the Yellow Pages? Biggest section, the biggest category. Can you guess that? Guess that right? It was the same way everywhere, no matter what city or state you lived in. What was the thickest category in the Yellow Pages? Do you know what it is? Got to find out if I can replace one section of my Anderson Bay window that has moisture between. Jason's wrong. We'll usually know what Anderson normally makes you do is you replace the sash. So if you look at how the material, the wood material that surrounds the glass, that's called a sash. And even on fixed units, like a fixed bay window where it doesn't move, that when they build that window, they actually kind of just bring that in and it's screwed into the side. So you have to generally replace the whole sash. Nope, not doctors, but you're getting close, Jason. Getting really close. Bingo. John's right. Attorneys. And John's exactly right. Followed by electric, surface, and plumbing. Exactly. That's exactly right. John nailed it. But attorneys, biggest section. Crazy. Frank's right. Frank got it. Exactly. All right, good. You guys are smart. All right. So disruption's coming in internet access. And it's going to get cheaper. All right. The only thing that I don't, like I said, Frank and I know about this because we're both radio guys. We're ham radio guys. You know, I just see the common complaints about people, and maybe it's because, from when it's snowing, heavy snowstorms, heavy rainfall, that they have trouble with the satellite systems. So, and the other problem is, but I know technology can fix all this. My son-in-law finally got fiber optic installed up in Bar Harbor. It's a long story. And it's so lightning fast, and I don't think any of the satellite stuff that we small folk are allowed to have. The government might have really ultra high speed satellite, but regular common folk like us, it might take 30 years before we get it. But I don't know that the satellite speed will match the kind of speed you might get right now from your cable provider. I don't know. So I don't know. All right. I don't have really anything else to say. I'm out of gas. And unless you have a question, if you have a question about your home, last call, I'll let you try to slide a question in. Interesting. I don't know, but here's what I found out. If you go to my website and type in Yellow Pages with quotes around it, there's old columns of mine that I wrote years ago, like 25 years ago, that still have Yellow Pages in it. Because at the time I wrote the column, the internet wasn't like it was. There was no Google yet, and so the Yellow Pages were still very much being used. And here's what's really interesting. So get this. If you really kind of want to go back in time, it's really fascinating. I got stuck in a rut. I got up really early today. I got a bunch of work done early on, and I don't know what happened, but I decided to watch a bunch of old Miami Vice clips, and it was just fascinating because, I mean, Miami Vice was done back in the 80s. I mean, and there was no internet. I mean, it didn't exist. All right. Well, not the internet we know. Maybe it was at the government level in universities, but not what we know. I mean, they're still using payphones. I mean, in one of these scenes I watched, I forget the actor's name. I forget else what he appeared in, but he asked Sonny for a dime so he could go make a phone call to call his wife. And in quite a few scenes, there's Sony and Sonny Crockett in a payphone booth. Crazy. All right. So Very interesting to watch. And here's what was really cool. I never watched this. I watched the first few seasons, but I kind of lost interest. And I did not watch the last season. Well, I had never seen the last 5 minutes of the last show. Very interesting. It really was really interesting. So I didn't realize that's how the season ended. So you should watch that. Oh, Will, I think I'll do that. That's an easy one for me to do. I will do that. I'll order those golf balls. Nothing hard about this. Let me write that down. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right. I ordered. I don't. Oh, I think I've showed you that before. I did. I showed you this. I've ordered logo golf balls before. So I had these made. This is I gave these to a friend of mine. And we're estranged, unfortunately. He was an internet buddy, but our relationship went down the tubes about 2 years ago. And then you can actually put photos. You can put photos on it. All right. So, and what happened? The reason I made these is because go onto YouTube and type Coyote Willows Golf. Let me do it for you. You got to go watch this video. It's flipping hilarious. YouTube. I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. Oh my gosh. This is so flipping funny. This explains why I gave that second ball. All right. Let me, just a second. I'm copying and pasting, blah, blah, blah. You got to go watch this video. It's pretty flipping funny. All right. So it's pretty funny. Just go watch that video. Vice golf balls are good ones. Okay. I'll remember that. I'll go look to see what they cost. Vice. So is Vice the one that prints up logo balls? Is that what you're telling me? Oh, I am. Thanks, Frank. I'm working. I know that Lorene has been busting my chops about merch. She keeps saying merch, merch, merch. Okay, I kind of kicked it to the curb. I'll get back on it. And we got to get these shirts made up. Okay, I can do it. So I did. I did hold one up, but I don't. Oh, you're right. I did. You're right. I do see that now. I didn't even pay attention. You're right. It is a vice ball. All right, got it. All right, I know where to go now. I just didn't. I'm not an expert about this like you are. All right. Will is the flipping expert about everything golf. Everything golf. Will is an expert on. All right. John says, I'm seeing some of these off-grid people build their own cellular internet towers. Seem to work good for them. Okay, it could be. Could be. It's all about, understand that it's these things, I don't know where mine is now. It's somewhere around here. I thought I heard my phone go off. Yeah. Here we go. If Frank's still here, he'll tell you this. So this is my phone. It's just a radio. All right. So radios work line of sight for the most part. HF radio bounces off the ionosphere, but these things don't. These wavelengths are so short they go right through the atmosphere, out into outer space. All right, but remember, these things have got really low. The power is really low. All right, that's why the cell towers have to be pretty close to you for these things to work, because they just don't. Because if they had much more power, your brain would explode. All right. The RF, the radio wave frequency, is not a good idea to put. You should not be holding that cell phone close to your head all day long. Bad idea. Okay, John. Let me find your question. Jeez. Do you need the old ham radio setup, or are there little handheld units any good? Sure. That's a great question. A lot of people would argue you need both. I wish, well, here I can. It's kind of a mess. Let's see if I can do this. So this is my regular shack radio. I can turn this on. It'll come to life. All right, so you can hear it. So right now this band, 20 meters, is pretty dead. That can happen this time of day. Turn the squelch down. Looks like the bands are pretty quiet. Here, let's see. All right, so there we go. So that is, let's get back here. So that's my regular shack radio. That's a pretty small one. It's only 100 watts. It's a really, really popular radio. ICOM 7300. It does both Morse code. It does all the digital modes. Frank, if he's still here, Frank's he does a lot of digital stuff. It does phone, what we call phone. Phone is where you talk in a microphone. I don't do any of that. So these are HF radios. These are high frequency. The little ones like this. So here's the one. Here's the small handheld ones like you're talking about. This is one of mine. Very expensive, $300-400. Very, very good radio. Yaesu. This is they don't make this one any longer. It's a VX7R, 5 watts. This one, I think, I'd have to get the manual. I think this one does 6 meters. So this one does a band, I think. It's kind of a funky band that we're allowed to use. It can't make up its mind. 6 meters can't make up its mind if it's a short length band or high HF. It's right on the borderline between HF and VHF. So these, of course, you can see are very handy. That's what we actually call them, handy talkies. And they also call it HTs for handheld trans receiver. But anyway, to answer your question, they both have their purposes. I mean, they both, obviously the radio that I showed you before, much more powerful. And some ham radio operators have radios that are bigger that are even more powerful. We're allowed to transmit up to 1,500 watts in certain parts of different bands. So a lot of power. 1,500 watts is a lot of power. You don't need that. I mean, I don't need it on HF. I mean, on CW, on Morse code. I routinely work people in Europe on 20 watts, 15 watts. You don't need, just depends on the conditions out there. All right. So, and this radio, very, very, they're so modern. They're so much more compact than the old tube units. A lot of old timers still love their old tube radios. They're nostalgic. They like using them because that's what they grew up with. I never did all that. I just got into ham radio back in 2011. All right. So yeah. So yeah, John, satellite phone. Exactly. All right, Lorraine, see ya. And if you're already gone, sorry, I missed you. I'm going to get out of here too. I got stuff to do. So thanks for being here today. Great questions. I'm going to go look at Vice golf balls and see if I can upload my logo if it's good enough quality. And then nothing hard about this. I might say nothing hard about this game. All right, Jason, see ya. Will, Lorena, if you're still here. Jason, see you. John, if you're still here, great questions. Frank, so many people. I have to go back up to and see who's here. Good night was here. Jimmy, so many people. My goodness, look at all these people today. Anyway, I apologize if I Eddie was here. I'm trying to find names. Just so many people. I apologize if I forget your name. All right, I can't remember all of them. So anyway, are you gonna? Will wants to know. Oh, Jack's still here. Good. Hi, Jack. I am gonna go. Well, I'm not gonna golf tomorrow. Did you not get my email? Are you kidding me? Did you see the weather here tomorrow? It's worse than today. I'd have to wear my flipping overalls, my coveralls. Like, it's gonna be horrible. 22-mile-per-hour winds, 46. The wind chill is gonna be 30 degrees, probably 30, maybe 25. It's gonna be horrible tomorrow. But I am gonna go to that 5 o'clock meeting. I'll go to the meeting, but I'm not playing golf tomorrow. All right. So, all right, I'm out of here. Thanks for being here. Make sure you check out that Craftsman tool cabinet. It's a good thing. It's going to keep your tools organized and clean, and you're going to know where they are. Simple as that. All right. Thanks for being here. I'm Tim Carter. You've been watching Ask the Builder.